Thank you so much for joining this session on going from invisible to invaluable, the art of developing a strong personal brand. My name is Joseph Liu, and I am going to be with you for the next 30 minutes. Before I walk you through the full agenda and just introduce myself more fully in a moment, I just want to start with a little bit of a branding warm-up. This is meant to be an interactive session, so we're going to start with a quick exercise. Okay, and what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to adjust the chat to where you guys cannot see each other's responses if I can here. And then that way we won't have anybody influencing the other people's responses here. So I'm going to put a brand on the screen here. And all right, I've just adjusted the chat. I would like you to tell me what's the very first thing that comes to mind for you when you see the brand Aston Martin on the screen. And again, I've adjusted the chat visibility so only I can see this because I don't want you guys influencing one another. We got a few people saying James Bond, fast, luxury, wealth. A lot of people actually saying James Bond, opulence. Somebody doesn't know, a lot of people saying luxury. Okay, a lot of people do think about James Bond when they see this brand, luxury, expensive. So this brand is known for something. Okay, let's try a very different brand. IKEA. What is the very first thing that comes to mind for you when you see the brand IKEA? And you can go ahead and type that into the chat box. We've got people saying furniture, fun, work, affordable, cheap. A lot of people saying cheap, simplicity, affordable. Assembly, nightmare. Build it yourself. Furniture that's impossible to put together. It's not that hard, is it? It is, but some people do find it very difficult, and it is time consuming. Swedish meatballs. Jay says Swedish meatball. You got somebody else saying Swedish. Okay, we got puzzle maker here. I do have Swedish meatballs up here on the screen. That's what a lot of people think. Okay, so brands are known for something, and what I would like you to think about for the next 30 minutes is what will you be known for? What would you like to be known for in your life and also your career? This session is about how to help you define and reinforce who you want to be and what you want to be known for in your life and also your career. Now, I do want to do a quick poll here just so I can understand who's in the room. So I'm going to put a quick poll on the screen here. And if you could just let me know, what are your career aspirations? What are your career aspirations? And Glenn's saying he doesn't have the option to chat with everybody. Let me just adjust that back again right now. I adjusted it for the earlier exercise. We'll make it to where everybody can see each other's comments now, okay? So I've got a few options here on the screen. You can vote for as many as you want. Or if I don't have it captured, feel free to put it directly in the chat box. What are your career aspirations? What are your career aspirations? Vote for as many as you want here. We've got somebody also mentioning they would like to grow their own consulting agency. Be helpfully wise, somebody mentions. Okay, let me go ahead and end that poll, and let me go ahead and share the results with you here so you can see them on the screen. And hopefully you can see that on your screen. You can see most people here have stated that they want to raise their professional visibility. We've got quite a few of you saying that you want to start your own business. And of course, we've got quite a few people saying they want to earn more money. That never hurts. Okay, so where does personal branding enter into all this? Well, it turns out personal branding can help you. It can help you increase your influence, make wiser career moves. For those of you who have entrepreneurial aspirations, it can help you establish your new initiative. So what I'd like to cover with you over the next 25 minutes, this session lasts I've got about 10, 15 minutes of information for you, and then we've got about 10 or 15 minutes at the end for questions until about 11:30. I want to do a very quick summary of what makes brands strong. What are the characteristics of strong brands, and what can we learn from consumer brands that we can apply to our own career and our own lives? Then we'll take you through the concept of personal branding. What is it? Why should you care about it? How can it benefit you in your career? And then I'll finish up by just giving you 3 tips on how you can build your brand. And we want to make sure you walk out of here with some concrete steps you can start taking right away. So we will talk a little bit about how you can expand your reach and also your visibility. By the end of this session, my hope is you're going to walk out of here with some very clear understanding of relevant branding principles for your own career. You'll be able to articulate your unique brand and most importantly, take steps to make your brand credible and believable. That is the session. And so by this point in time, you're probably wondering who I am. So let me just take a minute to explain who you're going to be spending your time with today. My name is Joseph Liu. I'm a career and personal branding consultant based in London. I'm originally from the United States. And I spent a good chunk of my career in brand marketing. I worked in corporate brand marketing in Washington, D.C., marketed household goods for the Clorox company in the Bay Area, and then eventually moved to the UK where I marketed luxury desserts and also luxury ice cream for Haagen-Dazs. So my work now is focused on helping people bravely relaunch their careers. And my work falls into three areas. I'm a speaker, workshop, and webinar host. I speak primarily at business schools, but I have also spoken at a variety of conferences, including TEDx, and also organizations in the corporate world, including Microsoft and Red Bull. I'm a career advisor, so I do some writing for publications, including Forbes and Fast Company. I do quite a bit of writing on Medium myself. And finally, I'm a podcast host. I host a podcast called Career Relaunch, and I feature people who have made major career changes. That is me. Let's do a quick crash course in branding, and then we will use some of these principles to then apply them to you as you think about your personal brand. So let's do another quick exercise. So I'm going to put a brand on the screen here, okay? And I'll just leave the chat open where everybody can see each other's comments. So can anybody tell me which brand comes to mind when you see this on the screen? Which brand comes to mind when you see this on the screen? And I can see that Catherine is already saying Tiffany, okay, which is correct. Somebody's saying Starbucks here, which it is not Starbucks, but that's a good guess. That is also a version of another green color. This is actually the Tiffany Robin's Egg Blue. This is a color that Tiffany owns. So if you work in the jewelry industry, you cannot use this color unless you're Tiffany. It would be trademark infringement. So brands are known for their colors. Brands are also known for their very strong logos. Can anybody tell me which brand this is just by looking at this on the screen? Anybody know this? So Daniel and Gabby and David and is it Felicia, you guys are all saying Nintendo, which is correct. This is the Nintendo brand. And I might be dating myself a little bit, but this is one of the very first video games I remember playing, Super Mario Brothers, and this back in the 80s. This is a brand that has been quite iconic over the years, and it's because they've been very consistent in their branding over the years. So great brands are consistent. Brands are also known for their sounds. So can anybody tell me which brand that is? Okay, as we got Daniel, we got Phil, Gabby, Catherine, Alessandra saying Netflix. This is, in fact, the Netflix brand. So these brands are immediately recognizable. You don't even have to see the brand name to know what the brand is. Now imagine what would happen if you stepped in front of a room or if you were giving a talk like this and everybody knew who you were. You didn't have to introduce yourself. You didn't have to tell people what you were good at. People knew who you were, what you're good at, how you treated people, what you care about. That's your reputation. That's your personal brand. And so we talk about branding as a toolkit for how you can brand yourself. And so I like to think, first of all, about, well, what makes a brand strong? So can anybody in the chat box tell me, what do you think is a characteristic of a strong brand? And I'll try to capture it up here on the screen here. What is the characteristic of a strong brand? We got Catherine saying trust. Yes. We got the logo. We got Jennifer saying the colors. Okay. Got Allison also saying trust. It's Alessandra saying recognizable. Sorry. It's hard to, I don't type and talk very well. We got Danielle saying authentic. Sorry if I'm missing a few of yours here. It's kind of flying by very quickly. Somebody saying reach. We got Auguste saying personality. We got Alejandro saying vision. We've got another person saying authenticity, strong messaging. Okay, we got David saying it's very memorable. Gary saying integrity. Okay, and then Ayodeji is saying consistent. Yeah, great brands are very, very consistent. And Jada is saying great brands are simple. There's somebody says, David says resonates. Okay, we've got Laura saying inclusive. Okay, a lot available. Okay, so there's a very good, strong connection. There's a very good starter list here. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. And what I'd like you to just think about for a moment is how much of this are you doing in your own career and your own life? How much do people trust you? Are you instantly recognizable at your organization? What kind of reach do you have? We're actually going to talk about this concept of reach in a moment. What is the personality that you bring to your work? Do you have a strong vision for what you want to do? How memorable are you? How consistent are you in how you treat people? Are you somebody who's simple to understand? Are you somebody who's very complex? Do you have strong connections? Okay, so all of these concepts of branding and what make brands strong are things that you can apply to your own career. So let me just clear this out of here and turn over to what personal branding is. So to talk about personal branding, I think it's useful to do a similar exercise to what we did at the beginning with Aston Martin and also IKEA. Let's try two different people. Gordon Ramsay. What's the very first thing that comes to mind for you when you see the brand Gordon Ramsay and his personal brand, his reputation? Words come to mind. Jennifer saying mean. Somebody's saying yelling, tough, direct. Daniel saying cussing. Marissa saying anger. Okay, so barking orders. This is what this guy's reputation is. Let's try somebody in a very, very different industry. So Greta Thunberg, so environmental activist. What comes to mind for you when you see the personal brand of Greta Thunberg? Got people saying courageous, young, innocent, global warming, brave, sassy, fanatic, passionate, driven. So each of these people evokes a certain reaction from you, and they have a certain reputation. What I'd like you to think about is, what about your reputation? What would happen if someone took your face, put it up on the screen at your workplace or around your friends and family? What would be the very first words that came to mind for them? What would they say, especially if you're not in the room? That is your reputation. That is what follows you around like a shadow, whether you like it or not. So personal branding is about establishing and reinforcing this personal brand and ultimately what makes you unique. And the benefit of personal branding is that it allows you to stand out and to differentiate yourself from others. We talk a lot about differentiation in the world of branding, and how might that help you in your own career? Well, if you're differentiated, people will notice you. And only until they notice you will they then consider you for opportunities, which results in you hopefully getting supported, eventually promoted, not only literally promoted into a new role, but your ideas can be promoted, your ideas can be shared with other people, which results in you being more desirable and eventually results in you being sought after and needed in your organization or in your industry. And this is just a virtuous cycle that occurs. The more you're noticed, the more you're sought after, the more you're considered for other opportunities. So it's useful as you think about your career to think about what your competitive advantage is. What's something that you can do that cannot be easily replicated by other people? And what is your unique advantage? What is the unique value that you bring to the table? And what will you do to reinforce your competitive advantage? And that's what I want to finish up with right now before I turn it over for some questions. And by the way, if you do have questions, please feel free to put them into the Q&A box rather than the chat box. That is a lot easier for me to track those questions. And you can also upvote each other's questions if you want to. So just make sure if you have any questions, feel free to put them into the Q&A box. I'll come back to those in a moment. Before we get to the Q&A, I do want to finish up with a few thoughts on ways that you can build your brand. 3 S's. Okay, and these are just some high-level thoughts for you to consider as you think about how to reinforce your brand. Because it's not enough to say you've got a personal brand. You've got to go out there and build it and reinforce it and make it believable. So share, speak, and showcase. And this directly aligns with 3 marketing objectives that brands often have with consumers, which is to drive reach, visibility, and equity. And so we'll talk about each one of these in a moment. I want you to think, first of all, about what you can share with the world. And one tactic that you can use is to actually think about social media. Okay, so let's do one more quick poll here. And I'm going to put a poll up here on the screen. And I would like to find out from you, on which social media platforms do you actively have a profile and you're also actively creating and sharing content? Okay, so you're not just on there consuming, you're actually on there creating. You're on there sharing. You can check off as many as you want here. I put medium at the top because this is a medium conference, so I'll put medium at the top. On which of these platforms do you actively create and or actively share content? Let's just find out from people. All right, so I'm gonna, a few more seconds on the poll, and I'm gonna share it with you here. Okay, a few more seconds. Some people are, sorry if I'm gonna have to cut people off here. Sorry if I'm cutting you off. I'm gonna go and end the poll. Okay, and let's just see what people have to say here. So I'll share the results with you on the screen, and you can see that, oh, well, this is I guess no surprise, a lot of you are creating and sharing on Medium, quite a few of you on LinkedIn, and then we've also got quite a few people on Facebook and also on Instagram. Okay, so that's, let me check the chat box to see if anybody else has got. Dennis is saying, is Telegram considered social? It is. I guess I'm thinking that would be more considered like a chat app. So I'm thinking more kind of the broader social media platforms. But you can see that people are pretty active out there. Now, for those of you who are not currently publishing on Medium, okay, now Medium didn't ask me to do this, but I think one useful way to expand your reach, we talk about reach in marketing as the number of people who are aware of you, is to consider sharing your expert views online. And one place that you can do that is actually Medium, in addition to places like Facebook and LinkedIn. There's just a couple tips I've got for you here. This is not a Medium session, but I would, if you are going to be writing on Medium, I would think very carefully about how you communicate your profile and to be very specific about your skill set, your domain expertise. I've put Scott Galloway up here as an example. He focuses a lot on happiness and also marketing. And you'll see that when he writes articles, they're all in alignment with his area of desired expertise and what he wants to be known for. So, you could write about a wide range of topics. What I would recommend to you is to create some focus around that and be specific about what you want to be known for and write about those specific topics. You can also, if you don't feel like writing, you can also curate other people's articles. So this is a data science publication on Medium. And if you're somebody who maybe cares a lot about data science, but you don't want to get into the business of writing all these articles, one nice thing about Medium is you can curate and collect and compile articles from other people related to a domain you care about. And that can be another way of signaling your focus professionally and the things that you feel are aligned with your own professional mission. Okay, so you might want to think about Medium. Another quick tip to raise your visibility as a part of your personal brand building activity. Visibility is just putting yourself out there, and that could involve presenting at meetings or speaking at conferences. Okay, so some of you might not like writing, some of you might like speaking, or vice versa. I would recommend that you consider speaking, because being on the stage, it is one way that allows other people to hear about your thoughts, your expertise, your knowledge. Okay, so consider presenting at meetings in your company. Also consider putting yourself out there to speak at conferences. The final tip I've got for you before we wrap up and turn it over for some Q&A is to showcase your work. So one thing we talk about in marketing is equity, what it is that a brand is known for. And what I would like you to try to do is to be intentional about which projects, people, and purposes you engage with, and to be selective about it, to be proactive about seeking out those opportunities, putting your hand up for those opportunities that you feel are going to allow you to best showcase your work. Okay? So I know I threw a lot at you there. Just to kind of wrap up here, when you think about personal branding, it is a way of taking branding principles and applying them to your career and your life. Strong brands are known for something. What is it that you want to be known for? Your personal brand, when you are working on developing and reinforcing it, can help you stand out, but you've got to take actions to strengthen your brand. If building a personal brand was easy, everybody would do it. Okay, everybody out there would have an incredible personal brand and they would be out there creating and sharing and speaking. It takes some effort. It does take some effort. I do encourage you to do it because if you don't define who you are, I can guarantee you other people will do it for you and you might not like how they define you. So my suggestion is to take not every action I've mentioned today, but to take one action, one step to reinforce your personal brand. And you're actually welcome to share that in the chat box. If you want to, feel free to share what's one action you want to take to reinforce your brand. It could be something I shared today, or you can also share something that you might be inspired to do after listening to this. Feel free to share that with other people. And we've got Constance already saying you're going to try to be more consistent. Anybody else want to share what you're thinking about doing? We got Jay saying he's going to just consider about how to communicate your brand. All right, so even just thinking about this can be useful. Laura's going to change her profile description. Yeah, just your profile description can say a lot about you. And Jorge is saying he's going to focus and be more specific. I do recommend that you think about your personal brand and most importantly, enjoy being the brand called you because as Oscar Wilde once said, everyone else is taken. So enjoy being the brand called you. Okay, so that's all I've got for you today. If you want to For those of you who want to take off now, you can. For those of you who want to stick around for the Q&A, you're welcome to. If you do want to get in touch with me, or if you have any follow-up questions, I will just put a few links in the chat box. You can send me a note if you want to. Feel free to check out my podcast if you want to. You can learn more about personal branding. I've got a Medium personal branding publication. If you write about personal branding, I would love to feature your articles in my publication on Medium. And you're also welcome to follow me on Medium. With that, let me turn it over for some Q&A now. And there's two ways you can ask your questions. Okay, you can either put it into the, actually, if you could put it into the Q&A box, we got a lot of people here today. If you could put it into the Q&A box, that would be great if you want to write it. Or if you want to raise your hand, I can unmute you and you can ask your question that way. Okay, so anybody have any questions? So we got Beth. So let me see if I can unmute you, and then you just gotta, sorry, you can just unmute yourself and feel free to ask your question.
Hi, thank you for listening.
Of course.
My name is Beth. I just created a startup. And I have a website that I want to do peer-focused writing workshops, but they're specifically centered around university level requirements that I've had in writing classes. But then there's also to try and get a steady income until that gets up and running. I want to do online content like on Medium and other places.
Yep.
How do I do branding for both, and where can I, do I put them together on my website? Do I offer two different websites under the same name? What do I do? How do I handle that?
Yeah, so great question, Beth.
Listening.
Oh, of course. Thanks for coming, Beth, and thanks for the question. So just to kind of paraphrase the question, if I understand it correctly, Beth, you're thinking about you've got different strands of work out there, and you're trying to maybe take a portfolio approach to do some writing on perhaps Medium, maybe on your own website and your blog. And the question is, like, should I have a different blog for different topics? Should I write certain topics on Medium and then different topics on my website? And the reality is you can do it however you want. My suggestion would be to try to keep it as simple as possible for yourself. So
Okay.
there's nothing that prevents you from, you might want to double check this with Medium, but there's nothing that prevents you from writing something on Medium and perhaps putting a condensed version of that on your website and then relinking back to the Medium page or vice versa. I think directly and exactly replicating all your content on two different platforms may not be the best idea. Just I think SEO, search engine optimization, it might penalize you for that a little bit, but I would try to keep as much of your content in one place as possible, and then you can then share it out, perhaps your blog, for example, and then you can then share out different versions of that across the different platforms. And when you think about, well, which platform should I be on? I would think about getting onto the platform and investing your time into the platform where you feel your desired target audience is spending their time, because it's impossible to be on every platform out there. Does anybody else have any questions? I can see a few questions in the chat box. We got Ronaldo. I'm going to go ahead and prioritize anybody who puts stuff into the, where's my Q&A box here? Let me put up the Q&A box. Wow, we got a lot of questions. I'm going to try to get to as many of these as I can. Let's get to Ronaldo, who's asking a verbal question. Go ahead, Ronaldo. Oh, hang on here.
Am I
gotta
still?
find, go ahead. Yep. I lost. Okay, so let me see if I can find Ronaldo. I may not be able to. Well, I'm trying to do that. Somebody else is asking. And I got too many windows going on here. Oh, okay, here we go. So I think Ronaldo, I need to allow you to talk. Go ahead and unmute yourself, and then you can ask your question. And then we'll go to Constance.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Go ahead, Ronaldo. Yeah.
Sorry about that. So thank you for bringing me in. My blog is, it's a little different. It's a little weird. I'm making like Christian rap recommendations for like secular artists. So it's like, 8 albums to listen to that are Christian rap if you like To Pimp a Butterfly, by Kendrick Lamar or something like that. The
Okay.
guys I went through is like I want to present myself character wise as like that cool artsier cousin that you get to see every now and then.
Okay.
They always have like outfit on. They're always putting you on the cool art. So I'm doing that through Medium, right? I'm writing articles while also trying to make jokes and stuff. I guess what is your, if you could just like buckshot, like what do you think my approach should be in terms of like trying to balance like, perspective, tone, sense of humor with also just providing, the basic information. All right, you like this
Yeah.
artist, like this album. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. So yeah, thanks for your question, Ronaldo. So the balance of kind of just being yourself and bringing your personality versus actually sharing something useful. I'll kind of revert back to something that Seth Godin once said. Seth Godin's a marketing guru guy, and he said that try to be as useful as possible to people, or some version of that. He's try to be useful, try to bring some value to people. So I do feel like the cost of entry into being like a writer on Medium or to be a content sharer or creator is to be providing some sort of value. So I would start with that as the foundation, but then definitely bring your personality, bring your approach into it. That's a way to differentiate yourself. So I feel like if you could provide the information while using a tone of voice that reflects your desired personality, I would do a little bit of both. But I would always go back to, is this valuable for people? Is this useful for people? And if not, then maybe don't share it. Okay. Now let me go to the written comments here because I got quite a few written questions. Which social platforms to use to build a personal brand? Okay, so that I would focus on the platforms, as I said, where you feel your audience is. Somebody's asking a question. I've just started design college. How can I build my personal brand and stand out? So I would first of all think about what you want your personal brand to be, and then I would try to hone in on what is it that I want to be known for in the context of this design college, and try to invest your time and energy and your resources into those types of activities that allow you to showcase those specific areas of design that you want to be known for. And one of the themes you're going to hear from me today, or you probably have heard from me today, is that consistency is important and specificity is important. If you try to be everything to everyone, you'll end up standing out to no one. So I would try to put your stake in the ground somewhere and try to focus and be known for something. I'm going kind of quickly, guys, because I've only got 3 minutes left. Eric's asking, what's the best? And then Constance, I'm going to get to your question in a second because I know you've had your hand up for a little bit. Best advice on how to be selected for a TED Talk so your brand gains visibility. So I have given a TEDx talk. I feel like if there's one thing I would recommend with TEDx talks, and I'm not the expert on TEDx talks. There's actually another talk today about TEDx talks. I think there's some. I thought I saw something about that. I could be wrong about that. I would focus on, again, specificity, have an area of expertise, have a kind of a driving mission behind the work that you do, and to really hone in and reinforce what is that core expertise and domain knowledge that you want to be known for. And literally, like, proactively reach out to a TEDx conference in your area and let them know the angle, the topic that you think you could cover. They're always looking for new, fresh voices, and so I would put yourself out there. Okay, Constance, I know you've had your hand up for a little bit. I'm going to unmute you, and feel free to ask your question, and then I'll try to get to as many of the other ones as I can, but I have to wrap up in a couple minutes. You just
Okay,
need to
this is
unmute. There you go. Yep, go ahead.
fabulous. Okay, so I started a website before I joined Medium, and then I joined
Okay.
Medium. I find there's a lot more engagement, and people,
Yeah.
because people don't read as much, they just want short bites. So should I get rid of my website, or how can I find a way to, like, because we're not allowed to advertise our websites on Medium. So how do I do that?
Right. I
You know,
I wouldn't get. So, Constance, I don't know what's your industry, or what's your
well, I'm a writer, so I have published a book,
you're right.
publishing
Okay.
books, and I'm also a retired, repurposed person trying to really change my life. And I want other people to change their lives, because we have to, right?
Right.
So kind of
Okay.
encouragement, that's my brand,
Okay.
moving forward. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you, Constance.
Yeah.
Short answer, I would not get rid of your website. I would absolutely keep your website. But you're right. I think Medium, it's a place that gets a lot of traffic. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with having Medium as your main repository, or your main place that people go to read your articles. At the same time, I wouldn't replicate things necessarily, although I don't think there's anything wrong with, you got to check with the Medium rules again. But I think putting like an abbreviated version of that Medium article maybe on your website and then pointing to the Medium article, that's a way. that can work. The reason why I say I would keep your website is that that's sort of like your digital business card. And you never know. I mean, you're a writer now. You never know where your career is going to evolve to later. I would absolutely keep your website, but perhaps do a little bit of both. Maybe have the website point to Medium. Maybe refer to some of your work in your Medium articles. So I would do a little bit of both, a bit of cross-fertilization that way.
Good points. Thank you. Great.
Okay, thank you. I've got about a minute left. I'm really sorry, guys. I got about a minute left, and I have been told you do need to wrap. I got to wrap this up out of respect for the next speakers that are starting at 4:30. I'm just going to start from the top and go down. I think I can do maybe 2 more questions here. If you're looking to make a career pivot, how do you begin showcasing your growing expertise in your new field? Allison asks. I would start somewhere. I focus on the area of career change. This probably warrants a longer answer, but I would start somewhere, anywhere in your future desired career path. I would just start to develop your knowledge. I would get involved with attending conferences. I would surround yourself with people in that industry, and I would showcase it. I would share it with the world. I wouldn't be too bashful about it, and I would err on the side of sharing the type of work that you feel better aligns with your future desired career versus maybe your past career. I'll do 1 more question. I got to wrap it up here, guys. I'm gonna do David's question here. So any suggestion for an exercise of resources that help me identify and clarify my personal brand? I guess I would start by, I don't have a specific, we're not supposed to plug our own work here, so I'm not gonna point you to my website here, but I would probably start by thinking about what is the skill set that I want to be known for, and what is the approach that I want to be known for, and define that very clearly for yourself. And then only after that would I then go out and try to then engage in activities that you feel reinforce that desired positioning for yourself. Okay? Guys, I'm really sorry. I've got to wrap it up because the next speakers are starting, and by my watch, it's about 11:32. It's not that I don't want to answer your questions. I'm going to try to go back out into the lobby. There might be like a chat room or something like that. But again, if you have any follow-up questions, I'm going to put my details on the screen 1 more time. Feel free to drop me a note later. I would invite you to follow up with me if you want to. I'm sorry I couldn't get to all your questions. But I hope you found this useful, and I hope you enjoy the rest of Medium Day. Thank you so much for attending today. Bye-bye.